When we think of the Exodus, we think of Moses standing by the sea, raising his staff, and executing the great miracle of splitting the sea. We think of Moshe and Aaron standing tall and walking confidently into Pharaoh's palace, right past all the guards who were powerless to stop them, and going straight up to the king himself, demanding that he let the Jewish people go. And if not, we all know the story. We reviewed it in detail twice this past week. However, the person who made it all possible was actually their sister Miriam. After Pharaoh decreed to toss every firstborn into the Nile, Moses' father Amram and his mother Yocheved were afraid to have any more children. It was Miriam that convinced them to get back together, as we shall soon see. The next child they had was Moses. When his mother feared that the authorities were going to take him away, she put him in a basket and left him in the Nile. It was Miriam who stood watching over the boy, ensuring his future, and cunningly making sure that he spends the first years of his life nursing milk and Judaism from his holy mother. Miriam's role did not end there. The Torah portion we read on the seventh day of Pesach is the story of the splitting of the sea. After that incredible miracle, the Torah records how Moses led the Jewish men with a beautiful and prophetically inspired song of praise, the famous Oz Yashir, which we recite every day during the Shachar's prayer. Then the Torah continues, Vatikach Miriam Hanaviyah Achis Aaron es Hatayf B'Yado. Vatetzena kol anoshim achareho b'tufim uv'mechelis. Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took the tambourine in her hand. All the women followed her. They sang the same song as the men, but with the women it was accompanied with tambourines and with dancing. This is the only time Miriam is referred to as a prophetess, the sister of Aaron. According to our sages, the Torah is reminding us of her prophecy 80 years earlier, when she was only the sister of Aaron because Moses had not yet been born. She was only 5 years old at the time. Her father was the leader of the Jews and one of the holiest people who ever lived. He is listed in the tiny exclusive club of 4 human beings who never sinned in their entire life, as the Talmud tells us in Baba Basra, page 17. Yet this giant of a man was paralyzed by the cruelty of Pari and gave up on having more children. It was his 5-year-old daughter who was, even at this tender young age, so in tune with God that the wickedness of Egypt had no effect on her. The darkness of Egypt could not cloud the clarity of her radiant soul. She saw through all the darkness and all the pain. She saw straight through the next 80 years of the intense suffering of her people. Through that long and dark tunnel, she saw the glorious day when her famous brother Moshe, who was at that time still unborn, would lead the Jews triumphantly out of that decrepit and evil land. And now, after her brother Moshe performed the great miracle of splitting the sea, and neutralized all the cruel Egyptians who were chasing the Jews with the intent of bringing them back to Egypt in shackles, so that they could continue to persecute and torture them. And now again, the greatness of Miriam and the woman whom she inspired with her unshakable faith came to fore again. The Torah records, in the verse we cite in the Haggadah in Exodus chapter 12, verse 39, that the Jews were so rushed to leave Mitzrayim, v'gam tzedeh lo yasu lahem. They did not prepare any food to take along on the way. So Jewish mothers who from time immemorial are OCD about ensuring that their children have what to eat, and before every trip prepare enough for an army, did not prepare anything for their journey through the desert to the land of Israel. But there was one thing Miriam and her disciples did not forget to pack: their tambourines. Miriam surely shared with them what she saw with her prophetic vision, that the 10 plagues were not all God had up his sleeve, and that there were even greater miracles in store for them. So the one thing they all did take with them, besides some matzah, was their tambourines. The very fact that they made sure to procure for themselves tambourines was also amazing. They were slaves who barely had what to eat and what to wear, and yet they all made sure to have tambourines in their possession, anticipating the great miracles that await them, and for which they would celebrate with song and dance. The greatness of the Jewish women is stressed throughout the Jewish Bible. We are all familiar with Esther, Deborah, and Ruth, but there were many more unsung Jewish heroes. They always seemed to be there at the most crucial times to ensure the future and destiny of the Jewish people. The husbands usually get most of the credit, but they're not in it for the fame and recognition. When they are needed, the women simply step up to the plate and do what has to be done. It was Sarah who ensured the future of her son Isaac by insisting that her husband Abraham not allow his wild and ungodly older half-brother, Ishmael, to wreck the holiness of their household. It was Rebekah who knew better than her husband to whom the blessings of Abraham truly belong. It was Jacob's wives who brought up their children in purity and holiness in the very home of their pagan and wicked father Laban, while Jacob was out all day and night tending to the sheep of his father-in-law. And it was Zipporah who saved her husband's life on his way to redeem the Jewish people from Egypt. Our sages teach us that were it not for the righteous women of Egypt, we would not have survived that terrible period. These great women, disciples of Miriam, did whatever was necessary to keep the spark of their marriages alive under such incredibly difficult and dark circumstances, so that they could continue to bring more Jewish children into the world and build up the Jewish nation, whom they knew with absolute certainty would one day march triumphantly out of that miserable place. On the nights of the Seder, we eat 3 matzahs and drink 4 cups of wine. The matzahs correspond to the 3 patriarchs, and the 4 cups to the 4 matriarchs. Wine has the power to reveal secrets. The numeric value of the Hebrew word yayin is the same as the Hebrew word said, secret. They both equal 70. The power of the matriarchs was to see the secrets, to look into someone's eyes and see their souls, to see through darkness and pain, and to see the light at the end of the tunnel. The Jerusalem Talmud says that the 4 cups also remind us of the demise of the 4 kingdoms, who dominated and subjugated the Jews until the coming of the Messiah. We are still not free from the 4th kingdom, even though the process of its disintegration is well underway, as we have elaborated upon in previous videos. Yet we celebrate the demise of the kingdom of Edom on the night of Passover, because we see the end, we see the secret, we see the light beyond the darkness. On that special night, we are all given the feminine power to celebrate a redemption that has still not materialized in our world of darkness, because we have ascended to the world of light, where the redemption already has come, because it always was. The Talmud also connects the 4 cups to the 4 cups of wrath God will pour upon the enemies of the Jews, as mentioned in various verses in Scripture. Although this has not yet occurred in our physical world, through the feminine power of the matriarchs we can experience it now. On the last day of Passover, there is a tradition dating all the way back to the holy Baal Shem Tov, who ascended to heaven in May 1760, but whose light shines brighter and brighter as we get closer and closer to the redemption. The Baal Shem Tov instructed his followers to eat a special meal towards the end of the very last day of Pesach to celebrate the redemption from our current exile. After celebrating 7 days of Passover, we are in a place to experience the light of the redemption, even before it has burst through the darkness of our world. If that was true 250 years ago, how much more so today, when we are momentarily about to experience the coming of Mashiach, that we should all celebrate this meal with the fire and passion that Miriam and the women sung the Az Yashir 3,334 years ago. Good Yom Tov.